This is the Neonic Flare Prime X. Hello, everybody. Today we are going to talk about the Neonic Flare Prime X 14 millimeter standard shaped paddle. First of all, shout out to Neonic for sending us this for review. With that being said, let's dive into it. So this is a 14 millimeter paddle. This is what they call their carbon fiberglass. It says it right there. A little fun fact for you. I also love this where they have the name of the paddle right here and the millimeter in this circle. I think it's a very ingenious design by Ionic. And let me just start off by saying this paddle plays awesome. It does take a little bit of getting used to if you're not quite used to a, you know, poppier than usual paddle. But once I got used to that, I really enjoyed my time with the Neonic. Now, let's dive into the specs here. So, the spec sheet for the Neonic Flare Prime X is as follows. It is 16 inches long and 8 inches wide, hence a standard shaped paddle. The surface layers are carbon fiber, fiberglass, and carbon fiber. So a CFC layup, very similar to the Monarch All Court by 11.624. Anyways, the grip length is 5.5 inches, 5.75 inches of usable with overgrip. If you grip it high, much like here, for example, there's a little bit more room to go. Plays like a true 5.5. With that being said, the grip circumference is 4 inches. The core thickness is 14 millimeter. The average stock weight is 7.7 ounces. The swing weight is 106. The twist weight is 6.8. The core cell size is 6 millimeters. The ball feel is stiff but soft for a 14 millimeter per Neonic. And they categorize this as an all court leaning power paddle, thermoformed unibody with foam injected edges. Those are the stats that Neonic lists directly from their site. Now, for our stats, I would classify this as an all court paddle, firmly in the all court. If I had to lean it one way, I would lean it slightly power just off of the sheer pop of the paddle. Otherwise, I find it to be a firmly all court paddle personally in today's current paddle meta. So let's dive into that a little bit. So, how does the Neonic Flare Prime X play? Well, I would say that it firmly can you can do a little bit of everything with it. If you want to hit hard from the kitchen line, you can hit hard from the kitchen line. If you want to hit big drives from the baseline, it's doable, but you're going to have to put a little more effort into your swings at times than usual, just from it being a wide body paddle and a 14 millimeter paddle. It does provide a larger sweet spot, but you're losing a little bit of leverage over the ball that you would get with, say, an elongated or a hybrid paddle. And so, with that being said, that's why I add that in there. Now, let's get into my setup and kind of go from there. So, I originally played it stock, and shocker, I found it to be way too light, coming in my personal model at 7.6 ounces static weight. So, I did 6 inches of lead from pretty much 4 o'clock all the way down to the end of the bottom corner. Same thing on the other side. And then I did a small bar, which was originally bigger on the top of lead that I then shrunk over time, just with the scissors through testing and stuff like that. And this is getting my go-to wide body paddle setup. I've set up pretty much just about every wide body paddle I've played, with exception to one or two, with a setup like this, identical to it or similar to it. And I find this is just the best wide body setup for me personally. I find that the little bar or a bigger bar on the top really gives the wide body that additional, power and plow through that it needs. Yes, you could do the top corners as well for plow. I prefer just doing the bar on the top. And then I like doing the bottom corners just for that, added twist weight and stability, as well as just enlarging that sweet spot a little. And so, yes, you could also enlarge some sweet spot by doing the sides, but I find it's not as beneficial personally through my testing that I've done with a variety of paddles. And I also just find that I prefer the bottom corners personally. So that's my go-to lead slash tungsten setup. I'm using the 3 gram lead from Amazon. They make them in all sorts of varieties, colors, prices, sizes. I just have one that I prefer personally. I'm happy to share it in the comments if people, want to see that and are more interested in that. By all means, please comment that, and I'm happy to share it. But anyways, moving back to the paddle here. So the overall playability, I think this is a great paddle for people of all levels. If you like a 14 millimeter paddle, you want to have a little pop at the kitchen line, you have control, maybe you have some power, but not an overwhelming amount. I think those are all characteristics that this paddle plays well for. If you are a huge power player that's trying to dial it back, I think this could be a good paddle for you. But if you're a huge power player that's trying to let it fly and use that power, then, I would probably lean you more towards some of the elongated options. And so, with that being said, same thing for my control players. I think you can be a control player perfectly fine with this, and you'll get the benefits of this poppy fiberglass in the face that allows you to really be offensive from the kitchen line. And so, at first, I did struggle dinking a little bit with it. I did struggle dropping a little bit with it. It took me a session or two to get used to it. After that, I got used to it and I really enjoyed this paddle. If it weren't for, a couple of other paddles that I'm not going to mention that are out right now, I would probably be maining this paddle personally, currently, as of December 2024. But because of those, it will certainly be staying in my bag, but it won't be a main for me personally. With that being said, I highly recommend this paddle. Be sure to check it out. Again, use our discount code DDOG_pickleball at checkout to save some money. I did check, and the original price of the Flare Prime X is $139.99. And after our discount code, which saves you about $14, it drops it down to $126. I don't know about you guys, but in today's paddle market, where we're seeing paddles eclipse even $300 at times, this is a steal. I think this is a great paddle that you're getting for the price of not necessarily a budget paddle, but you're not far off from that $100 and under price mark from a quality up and coming company in Neonic that's doing a really good job and making great paddles. With that being said, I would again waver if you are not someone that prefers a standard shape paddle and doesn't like thinner paddles, I wouldn't recommend this for you. If you are someone that likes standard shape paddles and thinner paddles, I would say go for it. All right, guys. That's been a review. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave how you feel in the comments. By all means, we want to hear from you, and we're pretty responsive. We like to respond to our fans, when we find it within reason. And so, yeah. All right. We'll see you guys.